Welcome back, everybody, to the Derby City Fandom podcast. My name is Kenny, joined today with my friends Jake and Colin. We got a new setup. You hopefully can tell everything's all crisp. It's nice.
We're sitting
Chef's
here
kiss.
at a table with headphones on. We sound fantastic. We've upgraded. We're super excited about this.
I don't have the best headphones, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you really should get these type of headphones. They're so much better.
I think these are from Delta Airlines in the last flight I had.
Nice.
These for free.
That's how cheap you are? My God.
And I don't even think it was like I don't even think it was the original pair. I think like this is the pair I picked up off the ground on my flight out.
Oh, Lord. All right. So sidetracked conversation aside. So this should surprise no one, but we are nerds. So that means we are also going to cover video games and various video game properties that come out. So Colin surprised me the other day. He's like, hey, Kenny, let's do an episode on Mortal Kombat, the 2021 film. So that's going to be the topic of our conversation today. Our thoughts, kind of the whole rigmarole, all the fan service that we get in this film, and I guess Jake's opinion from an outside point of view, because I don't believe he's played the games, and I don't think he's seen the movie yet.
I don't know a damn thing about it. I was talking to the guys before this, and the only thing I barely remember from the movies in the 90s, I barely remember that one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
excited
granted, that's a
learn.
great starting point for anybody on the outside, because that is some of the cheesy campiness that Mortal Kombat is kind of known for in their storyline.
So assuming it was a game before
Yes.
the 90s film?
Mm-hmm.
An arcade game or was it an actual console game?
Console.
Both.
It was both.
Arcade first, generally, with fighting games.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I guess you're right.
And then they kind of work their way onto consoles. So, oh gosh, where to begin?
Well, let's take a step back. Well, no, let's try and compare the two. Let's start with the most recent film, the 2021 film, Mortal Kombat, and just kind of segue into the later films, and we can talk about the video games and kind of our expectations of future film and so on.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you all know this, but with the 2021 film, IMDb gave it a 6 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes a 54%.
The 54%, I think, is a bit too low. I think I'm in the same ballpark as IMDb, but I think I'd rate it like a 6.5, maybe a 7.
See, okay, I think that's where you and I differ, Kenny. Is I'm just as much as a fan of Mortal Kombat as you, but I'm going to be realistic with the scoring and not biased because I'm a fan. Realistically, I would probably give it a 5 at most.
Really? Okay.
Seems
And
pretty
maybe
low.
a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. But at the same time, no, there's no same time. I'm going to stick with that.
Fair enough. Okay. So this film, more so than I guess the 95 Mortal Kombat that came out, is a lot more fan servicey because it has more to work with. Mortal Kombat as a franchise started in 1992. So it's about as old as we are.
Are you sure it's 92? I thought I saw something about 91. Maybe I'm thinking of something different. I'll take your word for it. 92. Let's go with that.
Yeah. So the film that came out for it was in 95. So it didn't really have much to work with. It was going to be more niche. Like, it's just kind of a campy action film.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And that 95 film, it actually got a 5.8 out of 10 on IMDb and 45% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, starting the long trend of video game movies that do subpar at best.
But that's all part of the fun, and the movies definitely embrace the what am I trying to say?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
They embrace the embodiment, I guess, of the games.
Correct. Yes.
And that's what you want to see in the movies, and I feel like they kind of bring that to life. Obviously, there's going to be some cheesy acting,
Right. That's part of it. I think that is something that needs to be included. That even like the story campaigns through Mortal Kombat, the fighting game. Fighting games generally don't have good storylines.
No,
But Mortal Kombat makes it kind of at least fun in the sense that there's this like almost comedic levels of violence.
So is that why you don't like the film, Colin? Well, not that you didn't like it, but you would rank it a 5, you said, right? Is it just because of lack of plot and the cheesy acting / writing?
yeah. When you're watching a movie, you kind of want that. I'll do air quotes here, seriousness in the film with actors, but you also have to keep in mind what the film is about. So I don't know, that's why I'm kind of like halfway. It's not like a 0 out of 10, but it's not a 10 out of 10. So I'm like in the middle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just feel like in films, if you rank something a 5, I think that means it's more shitty than
Right.
You guys agree with that? It's like, I don't know. I feel like if it's moderate, and you'd probably put it where Kenny was saying, like a 6.5, a 7.
I think.
But if you go below that, I feel like you're just in the territory of like shit.
Right. Now, I guess where I'll draw the line with like ratings and like movie watchability, I would say that this film is definitely worth watching. I think that it may not necessarily be one that you would go out of your way to watch unless you have some sort of connection to the franchise already, which Colin and I were kind of talking about this a while ago. This film is both hindered and then like really aided by like the amount of fan service that you get in the film. So we start off the film with the two most iconic characters in the entire franchise, Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Hanzo and Bi-Han, elder Sub-Zero, however you want to call him. Basically both being, air quotes, normal humans. The Lin Kuei being like cryomancing ninjas from China, and the Shirai Ryu being a clan of ninjas from Japan. And how those two interact, and canonically, yes, Sub-Zero does kill Scorpion, which starts the long train of events,
Which
is what leads us to this film.
yes, and that's kind of one of the things that I saw online with reviews. Give me a second, I'll pull this up. So one of the things that I saw online is like Mortal Kombat is very much a movie made for the fans. It takes a lot for granted, and expects the audience to either already know the backstory or have a certain willingness to just go with it.
Just kind of let it do its thing.
So if you just go into the movie with no expectations, you are going to be entertained.
You're going to be lost but entertained.
Yeah, and it's going to be cool. There's a lot of fight scenes and a lot of gruesome deaths, but also like clever deaths, if you will.
Right.
You know, theatrical in a way.
Theatrical, which is kind of what Mortal Kombat is known for. Fun fact, Jake. So you know how like most video games have like a little rating in the corner saying like E for everyone, T for teen, M for mature?
Yes.
Mortal Kombat is one of the games that inspired the ESRB to actually come into existence because of how messed up the fatalities end up becoming.
They were the first ones.
One of them, yes.
Yeah.
If not the first ones, they were definitely involved in that conversation. So that's part of the theatrics that Mortal Kombat expects people to kind of already know, is that we know that people enjoy violence on some base level. So let's make it as absurd as we can. And that's a lot of the fan service that we see in this film. You see a lot of these fatalities that the characters do in the video games, which is a nice little callback. To anybody that doesn't play the video games, they're just going to think it's over-the-top violence. But I'm just like, hey, I get that reference.
Exactly. A lot of Easter eggs, a lot of subtle like throwback to the game, and I like that about movies. They kind of do that stuff, movie to book or book to movie, whatever. Any kind of Easter eggs, I very much enjoy that.
But yeah, so we're beginning of the film, Jake. We're introduced to a character that doesn't exist in the video games. At least maybe not yet. They're still making Mortal Kombat games.
God, there's so freaking many.
Yeah. Just in terms of like numbered ones, there's 11, and then you have a couple of like spin-off side stories that are considered canon.
Yeah.
But yeah, with a 30-year-old franchise, you can kind of expect it to be well expanded to a degree. I think there's over like 77 different characters that are canonically in the Mortal Kombat kind of universe. But we're introduced to a young man by the name of Cole Young, who is, as we find out, a distant descendant of Scorpion, of Hanzo.
Hanzo, yeah.
Hanzo. And a particular prophecy that the blood of Hanzo will lead Earthrealm to victory. I'm paraphrasing. And the Mortal Kombat tournament. Now, the Mortal Kombat tournament is how the different realms within the Mortal Kombat universe kind of decide their politics to a degree. Whoever wins like Mortal Kombat generally gets their say of what goes over the other realms within the universe.
Yeah.
While there are several realms within the particular Mortal Kombat universe, you mostly only ever deal with Outworld and Earthrealm, as they call it, Jake.
Yep.
So,
At least that's the only thing they talk about in the film. So.
Yeah, just those particular two. And basically, it's dire. It's real dire for Earthrealm. They have lost like 9 straight at this point, although I think they make an homage to it. Earthrealm does win like a couple of like the first few through the Great Liu Kang.
It's true.
But from there, they've been on like a losing streak, and if you win like 10 in a row, basically you have free reign to invade the other realm. Take it over, kill everybody, do what you need to do. So from there, we get the whole kind of weird bit with the dragon marks and like Arcana coming into play, which I think could have been written out better in the video games. The characters just kind of have their powers. It's never really explained.
Yeah.
A lot of them just like, like Johnny Cage, for example, just has shadow powers because that's just how his lineage works.
Yeah, I wish they explained how each of these characters, or how any of the characters came to these powers, and what kind of training they had to go through. And they kind of
they
touch on that.
It's not great, and I think that's kind of where a lot of the negative criticism kind of comes into play.
Right.
But very early on, we're introduced to a handful of the original cast of Mortal Kombat. You meet, Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Yep.
You also meet Reptile. You also meet Kano.
Kano.
Everybody's favorite foul-mouthed Australian gang leader.
Hey, I think he's pretty freaking cool. I typically played with him or Johnny Cage or what's his name? Goro. Is that his
Goro is playable in some of the later ones.
Yeah.
He's classified as a mid boss with Shang Tsung being like the final boss of the original game.
Right.
Which is kind of what we see in the movie as well, is Shang Tsung being kind of the mastermind behind everything, even though he's technically not. He's definitely kind of the brains behind it.
Don't forget about Jax and Sonya Blade. That's what I've written down in my notes right here.
Yeah. Jax is in, I think, the second game. Sonya Blade is one of the original characters.
Yeah. So those ones that were already mentioned, those are the ones I typically played with in the game, at least, and that's the ones I like to see come up on screen in a movie. And yeah.
Did they fight in the movie?
There's a lot of fighting, Jake.
Oh, there's so much fighting.
No, like the original.
The original characters? Oh, yeah, they definitely fight. Right. They fight with each other. They fight with each other. It's like this whole thing. So there's some interesting interpretations here. Like Kano, for example, in the original game, he's just like this buff Australian man, and he has like a cybernetic eye implant.
Yep.
But instead, he just has like an eye laser now.
Yeah, which I wasn't really a fan.
Yeah, the plot of this film is not anything to particularly write home about.
So the martial arts, that's one of the reasons you would watch it. It's worth a damn.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
It's no Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
But at the same time, it is.
Because that's actually the inspiration for the entire franchise to begin with, is Jean-Claude Van Damme. And while that original idea kind of fell through, the Midway, the creators of the original game, created Johnny Cage to resemble Jean-Claude Van Damme. Fun fact. We're presented with a lot of fan service in this film. Now, I enjoy is all the different fatalities. You get Shang Tsung sucking the soul out of people, which is like one of his like more signature moves. In the games, when he sucks the soul out of somebody, he actually becomes that particular character and gets like a whole new moveset, and it's pretty dope. Makes him a real interesting, I guess, just character to play as. Fatality wise, though, we see Kung Lao's like famous. I'm not even sure what you would call it. His modified odd job hat that he uses to cut people in half by turning it into a buzzsaw. Fun times. You can imagine how gory that ends up being.
Fair enough.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes, actually, in the most recent film, is when that what's his face, or when he takes off his hat, and he kind of chucks that into the ground, and he brings in one of the characters. I forget what the character's name is, but essentially the body is just rolled, like slid into the ground, and then the blade is rolling, and so the body is literally split in half.
Yes.
And they show that in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was...
Her name is Draka, something like that. A minor character in one of the later games, which is interesting because everybody that they introduce in this film outside of Cole is a character within the franchise, which makes it kind of awkward because they kill off some important people. Like Milena, for example, is a genetically modified Kartatan, which basically the Kartatans are a race of like very like warlike, meat-eating people that have like a Wolverine kind of aspect where they're able to like grow bones at accelerated rates. Very teethy. They enjoy eating meat.
Yeah.
Mostly people.
Yeah.
Everybody has their taste, right? But they kind of do her like a little bit of injustice because she's supposed to be like this female ninja character that is supposed to be basically attractive until she removes her face mask.
Yes.
Where you see her teeth, her kind of like extendable jaw thing.
I'm trying to think. Oh my God.
And I think they did a bad job there.
Kind of has this, I don't know, like Morbius kind of mouth with jagged teeth. I don't know. That's the best explanation I can give.
So that's kind of what's going on there. They introduce a lot of characters that probably shouldn't have been necessarily killed off so quickly.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's crazy to think that they'd kill off Kano so quickly because he's basically in every single Mortal Kombat video game.
Yep.
Milena, a little less so.
But my problem with the most recent film is that they don't introduce Johnny Cage yet, and I'm assuming they're going to do that in a later film.
Yes, if it gets a later film, he'll have to be in it.
No,
You think it will, Kenny? Or
I think so.
I mean that.
The film still made money.
Yeah, he's definitely an iconic character.
Yeah, it might be rated low, but the film did not flop.
Yeah, I was just referring to like, do you think they're gonna make a second film?
Yeah, I don't see a reason why not. I think it got enough publicity.
Yeah.
Especially with it being on HBO, and I'm pretty sure it's still on there. You know what? I might watch it again later this week because since we're doing a podcast about it.
Yeah. So the film is basically a love letter to the fans, plain and simple. You get a lot of references. You see like Kotal Khan's like head statue, like bust thing in the trailer that Sonya lives out of. You see Nightwolf. You see, hell, you even just see like graffiti that is like the inputs for one of Sub-Zero's moves where he does the ice blast where he freezes people in place to get like a free hit in the game. So a lot of like just fun little bits like that.
Yeah, let's kind of go into that. With the stuff with the, what's the word I'm looking for? The
Fan service?
No, the skills, the
abilities, the movesets, whatever you want to call them.
The abilities, whatever you want to call them, exactly. The way the CGI works with that, the way it's portrayed, I think they do a really good job in this latest film. Yeah. And even in the 95 film.
Yeah, you can definitely tell they put some care into that.
Yeah, and I think they pull it off really well.
Yeah. You can also tell that they put most of the money into Sub-Zero's effects because you kind of have to. Sub-Zero is like, I mean, he's both literally the poster child for the movie and the poster child for the games.
Yep. Yeah.
Like the only thing that's more iconic than Sub-Zero is Scorpion's "Get over here!"
Yeah. Now, Kenny, my question to you is, who's your favorite character, or if you have multiple, who are your favorite characters in the whole thing?
So in the movie, I not sure how I feel about Cole in particular. I hate Raiden in this film. I absolutely hate him because he's portrayed as this person that, granted, the rules with the Elder Gods are their own like little thing. I can rant about that for a while.
Well, that's the whole point of this podcast, buddy.
Right. But he just goes on and is just for no particular reason whatsoever, is just an asshole
I agree, 100%.
to everybody, including the people that he's been training, which, as we find out, he's been kind of mentoring Liu Kang and Kung Lao
Yep.
off on the side. Oh, man. I'm not sure if it was just like... I think his writing was probably the worst. His casting is a little bit odd because he's kind of portrayed as kind of like a... I'm not going to say that they should have like whitewashed the character, but that's kind of how he's portrayed in the video games, where he's just like this super tall, like white guy, generic looking.
Right.
But he has like the Japanese like straw hat kind of aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. In the video game, he's an old man, right?
I mean, he's an older god, so he's
But what I'm saying is,
old.
so in the video game, I remember him being an old man, but in the movie, it's portrayed like he is
Younger.
old.
Kinda, yeah. Like they try to take him down like the old sensei kind of route, when really he's for a while just kind of supposed to be a outside observer that has to get involved eventually, because he's the elder god that's taken it upon himself to protect Earthrealm, while most of the other elder gods are just lazy, for the
Right.
lack of a better word. They don't interact with anything. They just exist.
Oh, even okay. So Jake, you see how Raiden, he has this the brim, the hat that he has. So that's what we were kind of talking about earlier. By the way, we have a monitor in front of us, guys, and we have kind of like pictures of characters and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
some
But
of their
with-
original sprites and whatnot.
Exactly. So Raiden, this hat that he has on, he could basically turn into a saw. So it'll rotate and kind of like cut people in half and things like that.
You're thinking of Kung Lao. That's what Kung Lao does.
Is that who I'm? Oh,
Yes,
I'm mixing him up.
a little bit, but
But no.
well, dude, I'm telling you,
Are you sure?
yes. There are a few things that I'm certain about, and it's that Kung Lao is the one that cuts people in half with his hat. So let me just Google that real quick. This guy is the one you're thinking of.
Yep, you're right. I
But-
stand corrected. Wow. My bad. Nope. Yep.
So-
Sorry. It's it's the hat that threw me off.
It's the hat. I mean, it's clearly inspired, but
But anyway,
both of the characters with hats have weird hat powers. Like Kung Lao like one of his moves in games is that he throws his hat out, cuts people with it, obviously. It's like very much like a Captain America, like he flings it at people and it will like boomerang back to him.
yeah,
He can also teleport directly underneath it
sure.
to pop out of the ground.
Yep.
Why? Who knows? That's just like in the film, it's his arcana, right? He's able to like manipulate this hat.
This Raiden character.
Yes.
Kenny. So he was your favorite?
No, he's probably my least favorite. I honestly think that Sub-Zero is probably my favorite because he's the
You
only one
would.
that has any actual development in the story.
I don't care about development. No, like I do. No, I do care about development, but
Also, he had the most fan service devoted to him. Well, you see just like in the initial fight between Jax and Sub-Zero that just some of the graffiti in the background has like his move sets just listed out. It's just like, oh, down, forward, low punch.
right.
You see him do different moves that he does throughout the video games where he creates the ice wall and flings people through it. He can create an ice shell of himself when he like backdashes so that when people hit that, they freeze solid and then the character can get a free hit.
I think I'm on the more cliche side of character faves, I guess.
You going to go with Hanzo?
No, I was gonna go with Johnny Cage.
He's not in the film.
I know. Well, he will be, but just the.
From the film. Favorite character from the film.
If I really had, I don't know. I guess I'd go with. Shit.
Honestly,
Raiden.
no.
No.
I'm going to probably step on Colin here a little bit, but
Go
if
ahead.
I didn't
Let me
have
think.
to,
Let me think.
if I didn't go with Sub-Zero, it'd probably be Sonya.
Sonya Blade.
Okay, fine. You know what? I do like Sonya Blade. She's hot too. And Sonya Blade, maybe a little bit of Jax.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no, I'm sticking with Johnny Cage. I don't care if he's in a film or not yet. Johnny Cage, that's
Your favorite character in the film is a character that only shows up on the poster in the last 30
on the
seconds of the
freaking
film.
poster. On a freaking poster. That really pisses me off. It really freaking does. But you know what? That's making me excited for the new film. If they don't make a new
that's
film,
their
dude,
spoiler bait.
Sucker.
That's their sequel bait.
they have to. They have to.
Oh Lord. So yeah, this film I think is definitely a watch. If you already have like HBO, I think it's worth the watch if you're a fan of the series. Otherwise, even if you're just a fan of the 1995 like original movie, I think this is like at least a worthy successor to it.
This is a lazy Sunday kind of film. Like
It's
I
a
wanna
lazy
watch some
Sunday.
action. I want to just zone in and out and see some cool stuff. Watch this movie. 95 version or the 2021 film.
Definitely watch the 95 version if you want to get the full effect.
But that's not on HBO. That's kind of the catch.
That's a bit more difficult to find now, as most direct-to-video films tend to be.
Surely I know somebody that owns the 95 film.
Oh, I never owned a
VHS?
cassette, but
It'll be on VHS. By the way, for our younger viewers, if you don't know the difference between a VHS and a DVD, just ask your family, ask your parents.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and explain the difference.
anyways, I think that's before we get too deep into it. The things that we want to see in the sequel. I want to see young Sub-Zero come back or show up, I guess. Because Bihan is the elder Sub-Zero. There's a brother in the middle, and then you have young one.
Yes.
Bihan eventually becomes a character known as Noob Saibot,
Yep.
as the people familiar with the games
man.
are kind of...
I am realizing that I'm actually missing out on a lot. I thought I
There's
knew.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot
These
going
are
on.
There's a lot of throwbacks. You're doing some throwbacks with me right now that I've kind of forgotten
geez.
about.
So I would love to see Noob Saibot come into play. Maybe even see some of the Cyberlin Quay. Like
Oh my
the
God,
introduction.
I totally forgot about it.
The introduction of characters lovingly called codename Ketchup and Mustard,
Yep.
which are they're cyber ninjas, for the lack of a better word, Jake. Sector and Cyrax. Maybe a little bit of smoke, so that we get with the third brother in.
That will probably be no. That would be,
but
that wouldn't
definitely
happen.
not.
No.
They definitely spoil Johnny Cage being in the film if there's going to be a new film.
I've said my piece. about that.
Quan Chi may show up. I would like to see Quan Chi, have him be the villain. And then if they do like a trilogy, then have Shao Kahn be the final big bad boss, because he is the final big bad boss. He's
That's
the
true.
Emperor of Outrealm.
Yep.
For reference, Jake. You see his statues plastered all over the place whenever you see scenes with Outrealm involved. So that'd be some fun bits.
Oh yeah. So I got a question for you, Kenny.
Okay.
In terms of video games, what kind of comes at you right now, what video games did you play the most in terms of Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat, I played the first one. I played Armageddon.
Yep.
I played 9, X, and 11.
Okay.
So I did have a gap in between, but I got like the more recent 3 and then a couple of the early ones.
Yeah, so I was more the first one. I remember playing Sub-Zero on PlayStation a lot.
Yeah.
So that one was really cool. And as far as the more recent ones, and I say more recent ones, pretty much anything after Sub-Zero, if I can remember correctly, I did not play. I don't remember exactly when Sub-Zero came out. Maybe I played something after that. Doubtful.
Those were late 90s, I believe. Late 90s, early 2000s.
The late 90s, maybe early 2000s are the ones I'm most familiar with. But as far as, the other games, nope.
Not so much. Okay. Well, I think we said our piece on the film. Jake, did you have any questions about the film or maybe just the franchise like as a whole?
Have you enjoyed the ride so far?
Have you enjoyed our
I've
nonsensical
enjoyed the
ride through violence and cheesy action?
I'll probably definitely go watch it. I was telling Colin and Kenny earlier before we started the podcast that I recently got HBO again to watch The Last of Us. So since it's on there, maybe the next rainy Sunday, I'll probably watch it. I know very little about it. I never played the video games. I think I remember playing like maybe an arcade game version of it back in the 90s. Maybe.
Sure.
But I was mostly glued to...
Halo.
Well, that was...
Halo.
Yeah, that was
Well,
kind of
you were an Age of
mid-2000s.
Empires kid, I believe, growing
Yeah,
up.
it was
weren't you?
more PC and Nintendo. So...
Those were good old days, man.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember seeing the 95 movie and really liking it. So I wouldn't
Yes.
mind. I mean,
Your
it's been,
soul is mine.
yeah, I mean, it's been 25 years. But
Oh, fatality.
30.
Flawless victory.
Yeah. Dude, all the catchphrases.
I am upset that they didn't bring in Ed Boon to do the toasty.
Oh my God, yes.
That's a separate side thing, but I can appreciate.
So here's a question.
Everything
I
else.
guess if I had one question, so for someone who hasn't seen the more recent movie, would you recommend watching the 95 movie first before watching this one?
I think that the 95 one is a piece of Mortal Kombat history that needs to be consumed at some point.
No, what he's
But do you
asking
need
is,
to?
do you
Like,
need to
do I
watch
need-
that one first before the 95
No,
film?
because they're two separate timelines, right?
Exactly. So no, to answer your question. But
it's just
to
that you get a lot
appreciate-
of references from that original film in the new one.
Exactly. To appreciate, looking at older films and comparing it to more recent films.
Are there references, though?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like just the "Your Soul Is Mine" is a reference that they bring up. Unfortunately, a lot.
Not unfortunately. That's not the. You say unfortunately.
well, they do it a couple too many times.
Yeah. That's the whole fun of it. But no, there's no reason to watch one before the other. You can
Yeah.
do either or, but definitely watch them both. You'll come to appreciate one more than the other. Not to give a hint, but the 95 film.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm biased.
just a little. All right. So I think that's probably a good wrapping up point. So I want to thank everybody for listening to our lovely little podcast here. Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
Did they do?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh yeah, they definitely remixed the theme a handful of times.
I don't like it.
Well,
In the
That
20
was the best part of 95. That's what I remember as a kid.
yeah, the 95 version definitely kills it better than the
oh man, we'll never end this podcast. I keep trying to close it out.
But hey, before we do close out, please check us out on Instagram and our YouTube channel, Derby City Fandom.
Yes.
We appreciate any support that you guys can give us. So
Yeah.
with that, Kenny, wrap us out.
Yeah, so achieve that flawless victory and hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like it. And with our new setup, hopefully we'll actually be able to produce content that I am confident about actually making like a proper audio podcast out of. And we'll get this out on like Spotify and iTunes.
Yeah, nice work, Kenny.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. Geez, we got another recording right after this. So we'll see you guys.
See you, bye.